Let me call the meeting of the Santa Rosa City Council. Here.
Vice Mayor Wright.
Here. We have a long list of folks that would like to address the council under personal appearances. The first is Jack Osborne, followed by Michael Fiumara, followed by Sean Herschel, is it? Hirsch. You'll limit your comments to 3 minutes, please, and see if I can figure out how to work this. Next is Michael Fiumara.
I'm afraid my comments won't be as colorful as that, but I hate to do this to you. I know you don't sometimes like handouts. This is for your applicant here today.
We'll let you go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Members of the council, I come here before you to address an issue that I had written to Mr. Blackman, Ken Blackman. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I called him to ask that we be put on an agenda. I'm representing Adela Guidry, 536 Bellevue Avenue. She seeks a sewer hookup because the county has condemned her property, and or they're in the process of condemning her property. They have, at this point, stated that the groundwater is contaminated. We have the reports now from the county, and those were not available when you made your decision on April 11th, 1995. Let me just tell you, members of council, that I specifically asked Mr. Blackman, and he agreed that April 18th would be the time when we would be permitted on the calendar or the agenda to speak on this issue. We'd have our witnesses and our documentation. Something went awry, and everything was decided on the 11th when nobody was here to address this very important issue. Under Rule 300-2, as you know, you have the discretion to agree to allowing hookup, and we have extraordinary circumstances here that are very dire. This is a person who will lose her home and her family. She's a disabled widow, and she's been a long-time resident of Sonoma County and of Santa Rosa, and there's no other way that her house will be saved unless she's permitted to hook up. And I'd like to work with city staff and members, city attorney, as well as the city manager, but that letter outlines it very, very clear. There is a letter from Mr. Walker that states the following, and I'll make it very, very quickly. He says that it is our opinion that the septic system cannot be repaired because of the poor soil condition and elevated groundwater table. She has no choice then but to be hooked up to sewer. Otherwise, her house is completely going to be vacated and condemned by the county. And I would like for you to please consider whether or not you would hear us in a very scheduled time very soon, because she has only 60 days to remedy this problem. And we'd like to work with you very closely and do whatever we can, my office as well as my staff and other people and planners. We want to really solve this problem for this woman and her family. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Stanley, I didn't forget you. This is just my first meeting. If you could bear with us, we'll have the report from the Board of Community Services after public appearances. Sean Hirsch.
I also just have a few things.
If you would give your name and address for the record,
I'm sorry.
please, sir.
My name is Sean Hirsch, and my address is 1142 Terry Lane here in Santa Rosa.
Okay.
I have a few things also to say on behalf of Mrs. Guidry, and I'll limit my remarks, and hopefully they will not be cumulative as to what Mr. Fiumara also said. Ted Walker in Environmental Health has walked the 5 acres of property in question here extensively, and he tells me there is only a 1 in 1,000 chance that another viable septic location exists on that property. In other words, there is no way that, although she has a very nice house, she can come up to county standards absent a hookup to the city. And that is because there is no other location on her property that a septic system could be installed at. And those, I believe, are the exceptional circumstances necessary for the council to find under Rule 7-300-02 that hookup could be given. I certainly realize the policies behind this no-growth ordinance, and an average property owner would just have to install their own septic system. But in a situation such as this, where that simply cannot be done, I submit that in fairness, the city should grant such a hookup. And there are really only two choices here. It's a very nice house on 5 acres, but no one, Mrs. Goodry or anyone else, will be able to make use of it. It will become abandoned property and a drag on property values and potentially a source of other problems. As we know, abandoned property can create numerous economic problems. Or if hookup is extended, then someone will live there for years and years. It's a very nice new residence, and whoever lives there will continue to contribute to the Santa Rosa economy. And I feel that in general it would be in the best interest of the city. The house is just outside the urban boundary and definitely part of our larger community of Santa Rosa. And I, again, understand the policies behind 300, but I think this is one of those exceptional cases where a hookup should be granted. And I thank you for listening.
And when we finish, we'll respond to both of your requests. Kimberly Mercer, followed by Adela Goodry.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Mercier. My address is 50 Santa Rosa Avenue, Suite 409. I, too, am here on behalf of Adela Guidry, and I'm here to appeal to you as City Council people, but also as humans. And just want to say that the Guidry family has lived on this property since the 1960s, and it's very near and dear to her heart. And she has a large family living there, and this is not theatrics or dramatics on the part of Mr. Fiumara or Mr. Hirsch. This is a very real situation where a lovely widowed and disabled lady is going to lose her home if she cannot hook up to city sewer, and I would say those are definitely extraordinary circumstances here. In every situation that I have seen along the way, she has done everything possible to try to comply or to go in a direction that would lead toward compliance, and she has been unable to do so, and she's literally stonewalled up against the wall saying, I'm going to lose my home because of this, and the only alternative is for her to be hooked up or allowed to hook up to city sewer. And that's all I have to say. I just appeal to you, please issue that certificate for her. She deserves it.
Thank you. Mrs. Guidry?
My name's Idella Guidry. I live at 536 Bellevue, and please excuse me, because this is my home. I've got 5 grandchildren that are dependent on me. I've done everything. I've spent over $40,000 trying to satisfy the county. I've lost my husband. I've lost 5 different people in my family. No one seems to care. No one seems to find a solution to our problem. I need a city sewer. I'd love to keep my home. My husband died building it. There's no excuse why I can't. You allow city sewer to other people out there. You've allowed it to LeGrand's. You've allowed it to other homes. You've allowed it to other people. Please, I'm asking you to allow it to us. We're a family. We're human beings. We're not just out there to make money. We're out there to live. And I'm begging you, let me keep my home. Let me keep my family. Because all of these years, it's destroying us all. It's not fair. I'm begging you, let us keep our home. Please. I've spent 8 years fighting the county, begging the county, begging for heat, begging for other things. Now I'm here in front of you too, begging for my home. It's not under code. I mean, it's up to code. It's not horrible. It's not a dump. It's not unsafe. And it keeps us together. Let us keep our home. Let us keep our family together. Please.
Thank you. James Hummer, followed by Charles Evans.
For the record, Jim.
George Haber,
My name is George Haber. I live at 590 Bellevue. I was born and raised right in that neighborhood. I was born in 1909, and I've been, when I first was a youngster, there was very few houses around there, and everybody had good water. And then when people moved in and built up, why, the water now is not getting too good. I have a good well on my place. I was trustee of the Bellevue School when we first started that, and we hooked up to the sewer there. Now I understand their water, we put a new well in there that was been 30, 40 years ago, and they had good water. Now their water is bad. They have to use bottled water for the school, and I don't think that's right. They have sewerage, but not bottled. I have good water. My septic tank works good, but there's only 2 in the house there. And I feel sorry for these people, and I think that they should be able to hook up to the sewer somehow. Either have to run a special line and make sure that they get water, because they're not young people, they're elderly people. And when they first bought that place, they had 5 acres, and they made a beautiful place out of it and did a lot of work, and here they can't do nothing. Thank you.
You're talking about Mrs. Guidry?
Was that?
Are you talking about Mrs. Guidry?
Yes.
Okay. This is the time for citizen public appearances. I do not have any other cards. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to the council? This is public appearances. Did you want to wait? Good. Anyone else? Then I will close personal appearances and see if I can respond and ask for some help down at my far right here a little bit. To the host of friends and supporters, and Mrs. Guidry in particular, I guess I would look for some direction. We did review your request and your letter last week, and there may have been some misunderstanding from the city manager. He brought it to us as a correspondence issue. We did stand behind a long-standing policy that the council has had on the extension of sewer services utility certificates outside the urban boundaries, and at this point you have submitted additional information to us. I would guess I would refer to the other council members and perhaps Mr. Browner for comment.
I would suggest that you refer this to the city manager to review the additional information that has been presented. We can then review that with the various departments that will be involved in this, and we can report back to you then with what our findings are, and at that point you can make a decision as to whether or not you will place this on an agenda for discussion.
We will. Did you hear what he said? We will, if it's agreeable with the rest of the council, then we'll refer it to the city manager's office. I understand your urgency, and so we will ask them to expedite that as quickly as possible so that we can get you a response. Thank you.
Can I make a comment on this?
Sure, please.
What I heard is what we're up against. Other homes were allowed to hook up, and we're going to hear that over and over. And so even on this compelling situation, the argument is other homes are allowed to pick up. And that's where we are between a rock and a hard place, because I'm getting calls at home from people in southwest Santa Rosa wanting hookups. So that's one of the bottom line issues.
I
just
think,
for background.
Yeah, I'm not sure where those homes are. I'm sure when you're in a situation as dire and as critical as Mrs. Guidry is facing, that those exceptions have been made, and I don't know how many outside the urban boundaries and what the situations, and those are the things that we need to have brought back to us.
It's been the council's policy that in cases where the county has declared that there's a health hazard and has requested the city include those within the city's sewer system, that the council has considered those cases in that event. And I don't know whether that finding has been made by the county yet, but that's a part of what we need to look into.
I meant that as part of our fear, is that the perception is that we open the gate and...
Well, that is.
So we will get to you as quickly as we can. Thank you for all